Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. In this video we have finally a tutorial. We have a tutorial for the Sunset Breeze shirt. I was working on this pattern and video for so long that at some point I felt like it will never happen. But finally we are here to learn how to make this beautiful shirt. I spent a lot of time on all the details and I'm pretty excited with this project, even if it was a backup project, because the main project of this design was a dress, but I'm working to get there and to finish the dress as well. And I think I will have another tutorial explaining how to transform this pattern into a dress. But now let's talk about shirt. It has a panel construction, but you'll see that it's kind of weird with the back panel. I started with the back panel top first because it has shaped shoulders, so I didn't want it to decrease, but to I didn't want it to increase, so starting from the neckline to increase, but to decrease because I found it easier this way. And I didn't start it from the bottom up because I could do so, but I did want it at some point to work it top down, the length of the shirt, because in this way you can adjust the length to the desired as you wish. So I work first the top of the back panel, shaping the shoulders, and then started working on the rest of the length from that small piece to continue into the length. And the front panel will be work started from the shoulder seam, and it will be work they will be worked into from the top down. So yeah, I think at some point it was weird because it's different than maybe you are used to. Okay, so these are the colors that I am using. It's Friends Wheel from Hobby. It's a sport weight yarn with a mix of acrylic and cotton. And I'm using these shades of gray plus of white. And you will need to start a 3.5 millimeter crochet hook. So now we will start with the top of the back panel, which will have kind of this shape, And from this piece, after finishing this piece, we will continue working the back panel and then from the shoulder seam with the front panels. And we will also add the sleeves at the end. So now this will be the section that we will start with, and when we will continue working the length of the back panel, we will add also this detail, this pleat, to make it look like a real shirt, let's just say. So now you saw the numbers at the beginning of this video, so you need to start with the required number of stitches for your size. I will use the first color, which in my I will call it color A. And it will be this off-white. If you want to adjust the number of stitches to work with, you need to see the required bust width or the width of the back panel that you would like, and of course according with your gauge to transform that width into stitches. For this particular stitch pattern, you will need a multiple of 2 + 1 stitches, or an even number of stitches. So for my size, I will start and work 121 stitches. Then I will chain 4 more. In this particular design, the 3 chains at the beginning will count as first double crochet, and after chaining 4, you will start with a double crochet into the 7th stitch from the hook. Then chain 1, skip the next stitch, and work 1 double crochet in next. Why is the camera changing the focus on the yarn? I'm really sorry about it. So we will need, finally, we will need to chain 1, skip 1, and 1 double crochet into the next stitch to the end of the row. Now this will look like after finishing 1 row, and now we will chain 4 for the second row and turn. We will skip the first chain space and working 1 double crochet into the next double crochet, and then chain 1, skip the chain space and 1 double crochet into the next double crochet. So we will repeat this to the end of the row. Now we will need to repeat the second row until we will have in total 16 rows. For my size, you can see the numbers for other sizes at the beginning of this tutorial. And now we will start with the short rows section. So after finishing the last row, the 16th row, you don't need to chain. And we will do the first decrease, and we will need to skip the first 4 stitches. So we will work 5 slip stitches because we need to put our yarn on the 5th stitch, and we will start our first row, short row from there. So now we will chain 4. And then we will continue with the stitch pattern, and remember that at the end of the row, to end up the row with 4 stitches left, because we need to decrease at this end as well. Now we will turn right away when we have 4 stitches left, and we will decrease again, but this time we need to decrease with 6 stitches, which means that we will work 7 slip stitches, because we need to skip 6 stitches, but also to position the yarn into the 7th stitch, like so. And now we will start our row from here, so chain 4 and continue into the established stitch pattern until you have 6 stitches left. Now, after completing these 2 rows, we need to repeat these 2 rows until we will have in total 6 rows. And now after 6 rows, our short row section is done, and we finish basically with the first part of the panel, of the back panel, but we also need to straighten the edges of these shoulders, because now is looking having kind of this stair looking thingy, and we don't like it, so we will need to straighten these edges. And because I'm using a different color yarn, I will cut this yarn. If you're using the same color, you can continue. You will also need to cut it, because it's easier to start on to make sure that you're deciding on the front, on the right side of your project, and it's better to have it in this position on the right side and start working with this edging. So now I'm rejoining the yarn into the first stitch. We're working the right shoulder first, and we will work single crochet stitches into the first stitches over here. There are plenty of methods, or a couple of methods that you can do to pass those to make the bridge in between the short rows. I will show you how I did it this time, but in the written pattern you can find explained both of them, and you can also find a stitch chart on how you can do it. So for this particular sample, I worked the first 4 stitches, and now I will work the bridge as follows, because I want to make the stitch longer. This is one of the options to yarn over, so make the first leg of these 2 stitches together that we're about to work higher. And I went with the hook into the first chain of the 3 chains at the beginning, and now I will go with the hook into the 3rd chain, and this is how I did the bridge. And now I will continue and working into the remaining stitches, which is the separating stitch, so the 4th chain right now, and then the single crochet, the double crochet, sorry, and then again the separating chain, the double crochet, and a separating chain. And now we're about to make a bridge again, so yarn over, I will go into the bottom of this double crochet over here, and then into the top of the double crochet, and work these 2 stitches together. And now I need to go into the separating chain, into the double crochet, separating chain again, and now again we will have a bridge. So yarn over, insert the hook into the first chain, and then into the third, and finish the stitch. And now we will go again into the separating chain, and we will repeat until we will finish, and we will get into the top of this shoulder seam. Okay, and the last bridge that we have. And now we need to work 4 more single crochet into the remaining stitches of the neckline. We will have in total 35 single crochet, and this is how this edging is looking so far. We will go and work a second row, but this time using front post single crochet. So chain 1 and turn, and we will start to work the stitches around the single crochet on the previous row, inserting the hook from front to back around the single crochet. And this will create a nice edging. After you complete the front post single crochet row, this is how the edge is looking. And now you can cut the yarn, and we will do the other shoulder. If you want to work in a single color, then and not to cut the yarn, you can continue then working the front panel right from your yarn is. Now with the other shoulder, we will start into the 5th stitch of the neckline, and we will do the same 2 rows, 1 in single crochet and 1 in front post single crochet. So I will start into the 5th stitch of the neckline, and when passing the short rows, to make that bridge in between the short rows, we will proceed the same with 2 stitches together, only that this time, because we are going down, we will do it reverse. So now I will work 1 single crochet into the first stitches, now I need to go into the 3rd chain, which is the 5th stitch. And then I will yarn over and go into the 3rd chain with the 2nd leg of my 2 stitches together. And this is how we will work the bridge on this side. Now we will work the stitches. So now with the chain stitch, the separating chain, and when we're going into the top stitch, which is the end, the final stitch of this short row, we will work it together, making yarn over and going with the stitch into the bottom of the side row stitch. So let's do it one more time. So now I will go into the top, and then into the bottom of the stitch, and work the stitches together. And we will continue like this to the end of the row. We will have 35 single crochet stitches, the same number as in the other side, and we will work one turning row in front post single crochet. Now that we finished with the shoulders, we have the straight edges on the shoulder. As I said, you can continue working the front panels if you're working this edging into the same color to avoid cutting the yarn unnecessarily. The front panel I'll work right into the shoulder stitches. You can fast forward the video where the front panels are worked, and then you can see how to work the front panel. Now we will start with the length of the back panel. So we are going to work into the foundation row of the top of the back panel, and I'm going with the same edging with one single crochet row and one front post single crochet row into the contrasting color. So now rejoin the yarn into the first stitch and work one single crochet into each of the stitches to the end of the row. For the second row of this edging, we will work one front post single crochet in each stitch. Is the same stitch pattern as on the shoulder edging, so nothing special over here. At the end of this row, you should have the same number of stitches that you started with. In my case, with 121 stitches. So we will continue working this row, front post single crochet row, to the end. And now that we finished this detailed edge, we can continue working on the back panel, and I'm choosing the second color that I want to use. And we will start from where our yarn is, but first we need to mark the middle stitch because we will work also the pleat at the back, and we need to know where is the middle of our back panel. So place a stitch marker into the middle stitch and then rejoin the yarn, chain 4, and we will work into the stitch pattern up to the stitch marker. When we got to the stitch marker, I will remove it because I have an uneven number of stitches up to the stitch marker. So I will work one double crochet into the marked stitch, and then we will chain 16 stitches for the pleat. So my pleat will have 8 windows, but if you want you can make it bigger than 16 stitches. So this will be like 4 stitches showing, overlapping one on top of the other to make that pleat. And then I will go with a double crochet into the same marked stitch, because I need an uneven number of stitches to continue with the stitch pattern. And then we will continue working the stitch pattern as it is to the end of the row. So this will be our little pleat over here. It will be more visible after completing a few more rows. So now when we will turn on the second row, we will work on the top of the chain stitches as usual. So we will chain 1 and skip 1 stitch. I think I have 1 stitch more or 1 stitch less, but it's okay, we can adjust that if we missed one stitch. I have 1 more. So now I will go with 1 double crochet into the next double crochet after the chain stitches, and continue with the stitch pattern to the end of the row. Now I will continue working a couple of more rows on top of this pleat, and then we will sew it so you can see how it's looking and how to put in place this pleat and this little detail over here. So let's work a couple of more rows, and then how I will show you how to stitch together this extra stitches added here to form this little pleat on the back panel. Okay, I worked a couple of more rows, and this is how our pleat is looking. I stitches together with the edge of the back panel, but I will show you right away how you can do this. So first of all, we will use some color, some yarn and a yarn needle, but first you will need to use a stitch marker or a couple of stitch marker to place this pleat in place and secure it with the back panel edge. So we have 8 windows. This means that we will have we will let 4 windows in the middle, and then the other 2 at the beginning and 2 at the end. We will fold them with the first 2 and the last 2 of the 4 windows in the middle. I hope it makes sense. So you need to fold it like this. Okay, so 2 over here. That's why I said that maybe it will be a good idea to have more than 8 windows, because then it will be easier to put this in place. So 1, 2, and then with 2 on the edge and 2 on the from the 8 extra windows. So something like this will look. And now we will take the needle and we will stitch with the back panel edge. I will start from over here because I don't know where another stitch marker is. and with careful we will stitch this together. You need to make sure that you insert the needle into the 4 window stitches that are in front, and to basically you will have 3 layers to get with your needle through. It's the back panel edge, the folding, and then these 4 windows on the top. And now let's do the same thing on the other side. I need to lay this on the second stitch. So something like that. And afterwards, after we finished and we have this pleat in place, then we can continue working on the back panel length. Okay, now that we finished with this detail over here, we will continue to work into the established pattern until we will have 36 rows for section 2, or if you want to adjust the length, then work as many rows as you wish. After this 36 rows, we will start to decrease to shape the bottom of the shirt. To shape the bottom of the shirt, we will need to decrease at the beginning and at the end of each row. We will work in total for this section, for the decrease pattern of the back panel, we will work 12 rows in total, and the decrease at the beginning of the row will be as follows. So chain 3 and then work 1 double crochet into the first double crochet. This chain 3 won't count as a first stitch. It will be the edge of the back panel, and we will count only the first double crochet. And now we will continue to work into the established stitch pattern until we will have 3 stitches left. If you want, you can place stitch markers into the stitch considered to be the first and the last one, to be easier for you to know which is the first and which is the last stitch from the row. To make the decrease at the end of the row, we will work 2 double crochet together wide, meaning that we will skip the chain stitch in between. So now we will start again with a decrease at the beginning, chain 3, skip the chain space and work 1 double crochet into the first double crochet. Again, the chain 3 is not counting as the first double crochet, and we will finish the row when we will have 3 stitches left, but counting as the last stitch the last double crochet, so not the chain 3. So here we have 3 stitches left, and we will do again the 2 double crochet together wide meaning that we are skipping the chain stitch in between. So we're going basically with the legs of the 2 double crochet together only into the double crochet stitches. And we will repeat these 2 rows until we will have 12 rows for this section. And if we work 36 with 12, we will have 48 rows in total for the back panel length section 2. And now we can cut the yarn. And with this, the back panel is done. And we can start working on the front panels. So for the front panel, for the right front panel, I will be using the color C, so the 3rd color for this pattern. And for the other front panel, I will use 2 colors, the colors A and the color B. So now we will work into the shoulder stitches. So we have 35 stitches and we need to have a multiple of 2 plus 1 because we have to work, we need an uneven number of stitches. And we will need to work for the front panel the same number of rows as we have for the back panel, but when counting the back panel we need to count the rows from the neckline, so not from the shoulder because there it's shorter. And we will shape the bottom of the front panel as well, so you will need to work in total the same number of rows as the back panel, but before starting the decrease pattern at the bottom. And because we have that line on the back panel, that contrasting line, that will count as 1 row in the mesh stitch pattern. So now we will continue to work only into the shoulder stitches for 4 rows, and then we will see how to expand the front panel to get to the required width. So at the end of row 5, we will need to expand the front panel with the required number of stitches to complete the width. I will add 13 windows using the foundation row in mesh stitch pattern. So I chain 1 and now I will go into the bottom of the side row stitch, yarn over and pull through the first stitch, and yarn over and pull through the first stitch only, and then yarn over and finish the double crochet. So we have 2 chains at the bottom. One is the separating chain and one is the foundation of the double crochet. Then chain 1 and we will insert the hook into the bottom of that double crochet, pull out a loop, yarn over and pull through the first loop only twice. So first is the separating chain and the second is the foundation of the double crochet. And now yarn over and finish the double crochet. And we have now 2 windows, and we will repeat until we will have 13 or the required number of windows or spaces for your size. At the end of the row, after we added the number of stitches that we needed, we will chain 4 and turn and continue working into the established stitch pattern until we complete the length of the front panel, but the length up to the decrease pattern where we start to shape the front panel as well. For my size will be 59 rows, but you will work the required number of rows according with your size, and you had the number at the beginning of this section of the video with the front panel. So let's continue working the rows until we complete the front panel length before the decrease pattern. Remember that we need to have for the front panel the same rows as for the back panel, counting the back panel from the neckline and not from the shoulder. And the line on the back panel, the contrasting line, will count as one mesh stitch row. Now that we completed the length of the front panel before starting the decrease pattern, we'll work 7 more rows, decreasing only on the side edge of the front panel. So only at the end of the row in my case. If you had a different number of rows and the side edge is at the beginning of your following row, then you will decrease at the beginning of the row. So now I will keep working into the mesh stitch pattern until I will have 3 stitches left, and at the end of the row I will work the 2 double crochet together wide. Now chain 3 and turn, and we will work the decrease at the beginning. After chaining 3, skip the chain space and go with 1 double crochet into the first double crochet, and we will repeat these rows for 7 rows only, because we want to keep the front panels a bit shorter than the back panel. So now I will repeat these 2 rows for 5 more rows, and then we will finish with this front panel. After finishing the decrease pattern for 7 rows, we can cut the yarn, and one front panel is now done. Okay, so for the front panel left, we will use 2 colors, color A and color B. And we will start with color B on the right side, only into the shoulder stitches, and starting rejoining yarn from the stitch right next to the neckline. And we will start with the color B, and we will work the first 4 rows, and at the end of the 4th row we will expand the left panel to get to the needed width of the front panel. Remember that on the right panel we expanded with the foundation mesh stitch row. On this side we can add the chain stitches, because then when turning on 5th row we will have the mesh stitch pattern. So now I worked into the mesh stitch pattern 4 rows, and now I will add 26 chain stitches. So I will have in the end 13 chain spaces. After chaining 26, we will chain 4 and we will double crochet into the 7th stitch. So the 7th stitch, we will have 3 chains counting as a double crochet, and we will have 1 separating chain, and then we will continue to work into the mesh stitch pattern. So chain 1, skip 1 to the end of the row. This front panel will be worked in 2 color blocks, and we will have a separating contrasting line which will count as 1 row in the mesh stitch pattern. So I will work in color B 30 rows because I want to split kind of in half, but to keep an even number of rows on each color block. So I will work 30 rows in this color B, and then we will work the separating line, and then we will continue with the color A. Okay, so this is how it's looking after expanding the shoulder stitches. So now I will continue to work for 30 rows, and then we will have that line and then switch to color A. We will transition to color A. Okay, after finishing 30 rows, we will switch to color D, to this contrasting color, and we will work the 2 rows, 1 row in single crochet and 1 row in front post single crochet toward the separating line, and then we will change the color again to color A, so to off-white, and we will continue working on the length. So now first let's work the line. I'm reattaching the dark gray color, and we will work 1 single crochet in each stitch. After finishing the first row, we will chain 1 and turn, and we will work the front post single crochet stitches. After finishing the contrasting line, we will cut the yarn and rejoin the color A, which is in my case the off-white color, and we will continue to work into the mesh stitch pattern for another 28 rows. After finishing 28 rows, we now need to start with a decrease pattern to shape the bottom of the front panel as well, because we added that line and this count as one mesh stitch row. We can now follow the same pattern as on the other side. So we will decrease only on the side edge, and on my next round this decrease will be at the end of the row, the same as it was on my other front panel. But depending on the number of rows, you might need to start with a decrease at the beginning of the row, depending on where your first row into the decrease pattern is starting, if it's starting on the side edge or on the front edge, the bottom band edge. So we will work the same with the decrease at the side edge by working those 2 double crochet together white, and we will work the same number of rows as on the other front panel, which was 7. Okay, so we finished with the second front panel, and we are done with this one as well. And now the next step is to work the edges before going into the sleeve, because we will have side edges that and also the buttons band and bottom edging, which all these edges layer one over the other, so we need to follow an order to make sure that will look nice in the end. So now I will start with the buttonholes edge. First, you need to decide on which side you want the buttons and where do you want the buttonholes. I chose to have the buttonholes on the left side, and working on the right side of your work, you need to rejoin the yarn into the first stitch. In my case, it would be the top of the front panel. And now we are going to work across the side rows, and I chose as a proportion to work 2 stitches per each side row, and I will have as a reference the bottom of the double crochet like I have here and the top. And where I have a chain 3, I will work a stitch into the first chain and one into the last one. And we will continue like this to the top. If you prefer and if you want, you can change the hook size to a smaller one. This will help you to get through the stitches a bit easier, because if you're going right through the stitches and not under, then your edge will look neater and nicer than as if you will work the stitches underneath. So this is my personal preference, but of course work it as you find it easier. Now after finishing the first row, we will turn and we will follow the same pattern as with all the detail lines. So I will chain 1, but first let's finish this, because I still have 2 stitches over here, I think, or 1. And I need to make sure that it's all complete. So I have double crochet, chain 1, and then into the next stitch I need to work 1 stitch. And now turn, and we will work the same row in front post single crochet. So now if you want, you can choose the hook size. I said it before. I decided to change the hook size right now because I don't want to my edging to get wrinkly. So now I will chain one and we will work one row in single crochet. So this will be the third row of our buttonholes band. So we will work one single crochet in every stitch. Now it's time to create the actual holes for the button. I have quite small buttons, so I will choose to let only one stitch per button. But first we need to decide where we want the first and the last button to be. So I will count from the bottom of the shirt a number of stitches until where I think that I will want my last button to be, and I have 20 stitches over here, and this is where I want my buttons to start. So you need to point and see where is that stitch. So now I have left 100 stitches, and I will roughly place my finger to count approximately how many buttons I will like to use. Maybe you have a certain number of buttons, so you can use as reference that one. So I will have 8, and if I'm dividing the total number of stitches that I have left by 8, the number of buttons that I will want to use, the result will be 12.5. So that 0.5 multiplied by 8 will let me with 4 stitches that will remain on the top of the blouse, which is perfect. If you have an exact number, maybe it's better to take into account a few stitches that you will have from the first button to the end of the shirt, to the neckline, because you don't want to count as the last button right into the last stitch of your right on the collar. And then to calculate the buttons, not considering those stitches, the ones at the bottom of the shirt and ones on the top. Now what I'm doing next, I will so I decided that I will have 12 stitches per button segment, which means that I will have 1 stitch for the buttonhole because I decided it will be enough, and 11 stitches in between the buttons. So I will work the 19 stitches at first because I will use the 20th for the first button. And now to make the buttonhole, I will chain 1 and then skip 1 stitch. If you have bigger buttons, then maybe you will consider to skip chain 2 and skip 2 stitches. And of course, if you have a certain number of stitches, you will allocate 2 stitches for the buttonhole, and then the remaining stitches for the stitches that will be in between the buttons. So if I have 12 stitches and I need to use 2 stitches per button, then I will have to work in between the buttonholes 10 stitches. Now I just checked to make sure that my button will fit through 1 stitch hole, and it is perfect, so it's working well. So now I will continue and working the buttonholes by chain 1, skip 1 at every 11 stitches. After finishing this row, as I said, I will have 4 more stitches left on the top, and then I will chain 1 and turn, and we will work 1 more row in single crochet. Now, because I finished the buttonholes band at the end, at the bottom of the front panel, and because I'm here, I will continue to work at the bottom, because I don't want to cut the yarn unnecessarily and have some more ends to weave in. So now we will continue with the bottom of this front panel. First, I will start to work 1 single crochet in each side row of the buttonholes band. So I will have 5 single crochet in total because we worked 5 rows. Here you need to pay attention. So we have 3, 4 and 5. And now I will work 1 single crochet in each stitch. Here it's easier because we're working right into the stitches, but remember that we shaped the bottom of the front panel, so we will have some side rows from the decrease pattern that we have at the bottom of the front panel, and this will be the same on the bottom hem of the back panel as well. So let's go there and work 1 single crochet in each stitch until we will get to that corner stitch. This one. So here I have the corner stitch, and because it's not a 90 degrees angle, so I don't think that it's necessary to work 3 stitches into that stitch, as maybe you are used to work for the corners, but I will work 2 stitches instead. Or if you want, and I will work 2 stitches at every other row, so not at every row because I don't think that is necessary. And here on the side rows I will continue working with the same proportion, so I will work 2 single crochet into each side row. But if you feel that your side row is a bit longer, you can adjust the number of stitches that you are working, so that your tension for the single crochet will look nice and even, and you won't have too many or less single crochet as needed. And at the end, on the last row over here, we will need to decrease, because we want the edge of this edging, the edge of this edging of this band to have the same angle as the side edge of the shirt. I don't know if it makes sense, but this is how we will do it. So at the end of this row we will make a decrease, and we will do a decrease on this side at every row. So here is my first decrease row, so my first decrease side row stitch, and here I will work a decrease by working 2 single crochet together. Okay, because I don't want, if I'm working 1 single crochet, my at the end of the rows will go straight, and I don't want that. I want to keep the same angle as the side edge of the shirt, but let me better draw it for you because it will be easier to understand. So here is our edge, and here's the bottom of the front panel, and this is how we are working the rows for the edging. And if I'm not decreasing at this end, this is how my edge will look like. And I do need to decrease the stitches, so I will keep the same angle of this edging, of this bottom hem edging, as the side edge of the shirt. So I hope that's now it makes sense. So now I will turn and I have to work a front post single crochet row, but I will work the first decrease as 2 single crochet together, so I'm not working front post stitches here. And then I will start working the front post stitches to the end of the row. So on every single row we will decrease by working 2 stitches together at this end. And we will continue to work the front post stitches to the end of the row, and then we will have 3 more rows just in single crochet. Okay, so this is how the edge is looking so far, and we want to keep this angle straight over here. So now let's continue and finish this row, and then we will work 3 more rows into single crochet. And so we will keep the same width as for the buttonhole band, so also 5 rows we will be working here. And into the corner stitch over here we will increase with 2 stitches at every other row. Now we have 2 stitches there, so this row will be without an increase. So here is the stitch. I worked 2 stitches, and on this row I will work only 1 stitch in every row, but at every other row you will need to add 1 stitch in that corner, so this will look nice and round and perfect. So now after finishing all 3 rows we can fasten off or if you want you can because we cannot continue with the side edge as we need to work first the bottom hem of the back panel. So now let's go back to the button band on the other side, and then we will continue with our edging. This will take a while. Okay, so we have now one front panel is nice and almost finished, but we still need to work the other bottom band, and for that one is easier because we don't have buttonholes. So we will simply work 5 rows, 1 row in single crochet, 1 row in front post single crochet, and 3 more rows in single crochet. We will work the same pattern as on the other front panel. The only difference is that we won't have the buttonholes. So the same 5 rows as we worked on the other front panel. So now for the bottom hem of the other front panel, we weren't so lucky to finish with the last row on the side that we need to start our bottom hem, because we need to start our row on the front. So we will rejoin the yarn into the first stitch. Make sure that the first stitch is where the decrease pattern starts, okay? So make sure you can count the rows and make sure that you will start your edging into the 7th row basically. And we will start the same with a decrease over here as I explained on the other side, because we will continue and decrease on this side at every row by working 2 single crochet together. So here on the side rows we will work 2 single crochet into each side row. We will have as a reference the bottom of double crochet, top of double crochet, first chain and third chain. We will work the same number of rows, so 5 in total. The first row in single crochet, second row in the front post single crochet, and 3 more rows in single crochet. And into the corner stitch where it starts to the side row starts from the decrease pattern, we will work 2 single crochet in that corner stitch at every other row. So the pattern will be the same as on the other bottom hem front panel, except the only difference is that we started to work this edging in the mirror, so we didn't start it from the button band, but we are starting from the side edge, but the idea is the same. To make it easier for you with that corner stitch, you can use a stitch marker to place it into the second stitch of the increase or the first one. See where the corners lays perfectly, and then keep moving that, removing and placing this stitch marker to know where to make the increase on the next row. It is easier for you than to watch one row below where the increase was and to try to figure out where to make the increase next. Okay, the front panel's edging is now done, the bottom edging as well, and we can move forward to the back panel bottom hem edge. So this will be the next in the row to work on, and if you're looking at the bottom hem edging, it will be kind of similar with the front panel's edging. So we need to start also at the beginning of the decrease pattern, and we will have, the difference will be that we will have now 2 corners and 2 side edges where the decrease pattern is to work into. And as we did on the front panel with that decrease, we will need to decrease the same here at the beginning and at the end of the row this time to keep the same angle as we as the side edge of the shirt. So I'm just counting the rows. Here we will have 12 to make sure that I'm starting and finishing the row into the right stitch. I will suggest to do the same because you will need to start at the beginning of the first decreasing row and needs to end. The first row needs to end the same at the beginning of the first decreasing row on the other side. So make sure that you're starting your edging row into the right stitch. And then we will begin the row as well with a decrease we will work the same 5 rows, 1 single crochet row, 1 front post single crochet row, and 3 single crochet rows. We will decrease at the beginning and at the end of the row and into those corners to make that curve nice and even. We will work 2 single crochet at every other row. So I hope that we worked so many edges so far, 4 in total. So I think the pattern is pretty, you know already the pattern pretty well. So into the side row, the same, we will work 2 stitches per each side row, and when you are getting into the corner, which will be the first double crochet on the straight line, then you will work there 2 double crochet, and into the first corner you need to place the stitch marker into the first stitch of the increase, and on the other corner place the stitch marker into the second. And on the next row where you are not making any increase, is better to remove and place into the corresponding stitch the stitch marker. So we will keep working off the camera on this edging, and then we will see what is the next step. So now that we finished the bottom hem edging, we will work the side edging. So we will work from the bottom hem to the front bottom hem, and on both sides. And we will work 2 rows in the same contrasting color, 1 row in single crochet and 1 row in front post single crochet. We will keep the same proportion, working 2 single crochet in each side row, and where you have those contrasting lines, you will work 2 stitches because there are 2 rows. To mark the sleeves, is important to make sure that the shirt is perfectly aligned, and to do so you need to make sure that the bottom edge stitch is right on top of the other, and then you'll simply need to mark the sleeve stitches the desired length of the armhole. I have 17 centimeters, and make sure that you count the remaining stitches from the stitch marker to the bottom end of the shirt, and that you will have the same number of stitches on the back as on the front panel, because front panel is higher than the back panel, especially on the shoulder seam. You might get confused with that. After you mark the stitches for the sleeve, then into the same mesh stitch pattern, we will start working from stitch marker to the other stitch marker, and I worked in total 20 rows for the sleeve length. But of course that you can work the sleeve shorter or longer depending on your desired length. After finishing 20 rows, we will add the same contrasting edging into the contrasting color, the same 5 rows, 2 rows in 1 row in single crochet, 1 row in front post single crochet, and 3 rows in single crochet. And after finishing with the edge, you will need to work the same pattern on the other sleeve. And as you can see, I used color A for the sleeve, and for the other one I will use color C. So let's finish the sleeves with this edging and of course the other sleeve, and let's see what is next. Okay, we finished the edging, and now we need to work the side edges of the sleeves in the same pattern as the side edges of the shirt. So we will work the same 2 rows, 1 row in single crochet and 1 row in front post single crochet for the sleeves as well, because this will need to match the side edges of the shirt. Okay, this is how it will look like, and we will need to do the same on the other sleeve edge as well, the same thing, and then we can consider the sleeve done. So this is how the sleeve is looking after it's finished. Now we need to repeat the same pattern on the other side and finish the second sleeve as well. And this is how it's looking so far. We still have the collar to work and to place the buttons, but we are almost done. So now for the collar, we will work into the all around, and it depends how wide you want the collar to be. One thing that is important is that on that foundation row, you will need to work 2 stitches into each window, because you can see that it's a wide chain stitch that covers basically the double crochet and the chain stitch. So you need to pay attention to work there 2 single crochet and not only 1, if you see that is only 1 chain stitch. And we will work 1 row in single crochet all around, and then we will work 1 row in front post single crochet, and then we will continue to work in single crochet stitches. I worked in total 20 rows for the collar. Okay, the first 2 rows are done, and now I will continue to work in single crochet stitches. As I said, I worked 20 rows in total, counting these 2 as well, but of course that you can work as many rows as you wish until you think that your collar has the desired width. One thing that you might notice is that I work the collar into the bottom into the button band as well, but you can skip that and let the button band as it is. Okay, so this is how the shirt is looking. We just need to add to sew in the buttons. It's almost done with the collar, and then what we will need to do is to stitch together, assemble the shirt. I will use single slip stitches to join the side edges, and basically after that, after joining the edges and placing the buttons, the shirt is done. I think my cat likes it as well. So now, using slip stitches, we will join these side edges together. Of course, you can use any joining method as you want. You can use the yarn needle and sew the pieces together. And I will pick up only the front loops, so only 1 loop and not in the entire stitch, because I don't want that this joining seam to be too big on the inside of the shirt. So picking up only 1 loop from the stitch, I think it will be thinner, this joining, and it will look nicer. So let me show you. Make sure that you're grabbing a loop from both sides and making the slip stitch. And I started from the sleeve, and I will continue like this all the way down to the bottom hem. Okay, so this is how it's looking, and let's continue and join everything together. So this is how the joining seam is looking. We will do it on the other side as well, and then we will sew the buttons and weave in all the ends, and finally the shirt will be done. Now the next step is not necessarily, but if you want, you can work now 1 or 2 more rows on the entire edge of the shirt, starting with the collar in the back, and just finishing everything off with this final row. I started in the middle of the back and I worked 1 row all around, from the middle of the collar to the front panels, bottom hem, continuing to the bottom hem of the back panel, then front panel, and coming all over right on the neckline again. So if you want to add this final touch to your shirt, then you can do it. You can also start your run not in the middle of the collar but into the side edge of your shirt. I worked in the end, I think, 2 rows, 1 in single crochet and 1 in front post single crochet, of course. You need to pay attention on all the corners to work 2 or 3 stitches depending on the angle, to make sure that your corner will have a nice curve and it will look nice and neat and perfect. So this is just optional, but I was just thinking to add this because I wanted to make that edge of the collar straight. So I decided to add these 2 rows on my shirt. So now it's time to sew the buttons. You can use stitch marker to mark the stitches where the buttons will needs to be. Of course, that you'll need to have the same number of stitches in between the buttons as the number of stitches in between the buttonholes. Make sure that you keep the same gauge in between the buttons. And then because I didn't have the same thread color, and through the holes of my buttons didn't fit a bigger needle, I said to just split the yarn that I was using, because it's kind of a 4 strand of yarn here. So I split it and I used the thread needle to sew in the buttons. And here she is before blocking. Yeah, I hope you like this tutorial. I hope, even if it's too long, I hope that you will try to make it, because it's so beautiful. I'm really proud of this project. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Thank you so much for watching, and see you next time. Bye.